Yo, what's going on? This is the ShoPowSho, y'all. Your boy Kuya P, nerds rule the world. It's the Adobro, the Babinka boy, the leader of the Hala Hala homies in the Sunna Gang. Back again. Part 2 of my conversation with the Toronto Terminator up there in the Big North by way of Vancouver, my man Jesse Inocalla. If you don't know him, if you haven't seen part 1, go do that right now because we're going to be skipping into this is part 2 of the conversation. So you got to know what happened from birth to childhood. You got to know what happened before because we're now about to get into the high school years, learn a little bit more about him getting into the industry, Dragon Prince, all of those things. But if this is, if you don't know, let me tell you a little bit why you also need to go check out that part 1. Jesse Inocalla is a Filipino-Canadian voiceover artist, actor, and producer. He's one of the leads on the hit Emmy-nominated Netflix series, The Dragon Prince. You've heard him on My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, Lego's Legends of Chima, as well as multiple roles on Marvel animated series. He's done video games with producers like Nintendo, Capcom, Fincon Games, IGG, United Front Games. He's part of my FilipinX Actors Barkada. Shout out to those squad, the family. Let me not ramble anymore. You want to talk to this brother. You want to see this brother. He's on the screen. Jesse Inocalla. It's in post because I don't want to mess up those ears. You got to record
Zoom more than necessary.
You got to do all the things, man. What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's great to see and talk to you. I'm glad we can make it happen. I know our schedules are crazy.
That's life, man.
We're making it happen, man. We're just trying to put that work in. But always a pleasure to chat with you, brother. It enlightens me. It inspires me. And I think you get the same feels, much like when we're part of the Barkada team and we're on the Zooms, man. Just feeling those vibes, that energy.
We got to feel it out for each other. We got to look after each other. Like, it's hard enough out here when, we're not nice to each other, but we're blessed in that we're all nice to each other.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good vibes, man. Good energy. But man, we still have a story to tell. We did a part 1. We had a good hour conversation before. We still got a little bit more to chat about. We're heading into the high school years of your story, I believe. And finding a little bit more about ourselves. Again, let's get into that therapy session, Jesse.
Oh, God,
I told you I'm the Filipino Barbara Walters.
Hey, better than the Filipino Dr. Phil.
Hey. All right, well, that would be, was Dr. Phil the one that had those fights? No, it's not Dr. Phil. Well, Dr. Phil was
Jerry
starting to do
Springer.
that crazy shit. Jerry.
That was Jerry.
You know what? I should be the doctor, the Filipino Jerry Springer. It'd be a lot more entertaining, be a little bit crazier. But anyway, yes. Well, we're not going to bring any crazy people out the closet on you, Jesse. I'm not going to do that to you, man. I love you, man. So let's talk about heading into high school. We learned from your story, your father, you kind of caught the acting bug by going to your father on set, while he was doing, martial arts, stunt work and everything. You found yourself, following kind of the same path, as we led into, high school. So was that middle school when you were like, going on set with him? You're on the Turtle set in, I believe, Oregon, for a little bit.
Yeah. So the Turtle set that was middle school. That was pretty firmly like I was, 10, 11, somewhere in there. And then through early high school, well, and later elementary too, my dad was on the Saban turtle show that they did up here, Next Mutation. Because he was like, he had experience in the suits already. He's little. He's like 5'2". So he's like a very slight build. So he was perfect casting for the girl turtle, Venus, that they brought on for that show. So he was on set for that. And, we shot over the summer. So he would bring me. I didn't have anything else to do. So I spent even more time on sets through that. And coming into high school, I was just like, I was so single-mindedly determined to look at, acting, drama, theater, that sort of thing. And I mean, for the most part, I did exactly that. I did a lot of high school theater. I did high school improv. I did everything with those shows, man. I built sets. I directed. I was like writing shit for high school shows. I was organizing the improv tournaments as best I could, at least. Like I was just single-minded. I was like, I need to do this thing. This is the thing I want to do. And since you're in high school, you feel like this is the most important time in your life. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna keep moving forward. I'm gonna keep moving forward. Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you actually took advantage of your opportunity in school to actually
Yeah.
get training before you actually, even further, because then you graduate, and we'll get to that point, getting professional training to like really make it legitimate. You kind of knew the system by being on set with your parent, with your father,
Mhm.
but then to really make it something, I'm sure, right? uh
Yeah, well, like, whereas, there's a lot of people, and, I no judgment to them, but, they take theater, they take drama for like, the easy A, right? They just show up, do the work, hand it in. But it's in those classes, with my high school teachers that I got access to some of these books that now I recommend to my students. Some of these books that were formative for my knowledge of acting and of theater and of the craft. And I took it so seriously,
I
maybe too
love that.
seriously, frankly, but hey, it got me here, so can't be that bad.
Yeah. No, I love that, man. Yeah, you kind of look at those other cats sideways. We know what like you said,
Yeah,
that easy A, but then there's a kinship you find when you find others that are taking it as seriously as you are. That, oh, that's your life goal too. That's what you're trying to make happen. Oh, boom, boom.
exactly.
Let's connect, man. I love stuff like that.
Exactly,
That's
right?
awesome. And to take it to a nerd front real quick,
Please.
because you and I know we're both nerds. Let's be real, we're both official nerds.
It's
Did
true.
you a lot of people, because I get this all the time, and I only played maybe once, but like D&D, did you get into acting because, or finding that as an outlet for your nerddom? I think I
Can I
only
tell
played
you?
like maybe once or twice in high school, but
You
I
know
really
what?
wasn't that much of a D&D guy.
Same. I wasn't a tabletop guy at all in high school. I picked
Word.
it up. I picked up tabletop maybe 7 years ago,
Okay, so
maybe.
fairly recent then.
Very recent, very, very
Yeah.
recent. But like I remember this one time I was hanging out with like the sci-fi club, right? And one of the guys brought in the Dragon Ball Z TTRPG, and we tried playing a little bit of that, and I was just like, I wasn't feeling it. It's like maybe it just wasn't for me at the time, but since then, I literally I'm recording a D&D podcast right now, as like not as we speak, but last night. So like I am all in now.
I love it. We'll get into that more because I
We'll get
love
into that
how
later. Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
actor collaboration, because I will say, yeah, I could see why they would think I would be about D&D,
Oh, absolutely. Because like it makes sense. And
Yeah.
everyone, like almost everybody that I talk to nowadays who wants to get, VO training, so many of them are coming from like Critical Role, or they're coming from having played a lot of D&D, or watching Stranger Things and seeing them play D&D, and then being inspired to play D&D, and then coming into that. I tell people all the time, like, you got to do improv. You got to do improv training. And they're like, oh, I play D&D. And I'm like, oh, that's just improv. That's
Yeah.
improv with math.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I love everything that spurns the imagination.
Yeah,
It only helps with creativity even more. All right, since we're in high school,
let's do
uh,
it.
let's go to the Filipino side of things real quick. I know, you didn't learn much, and we're, in you as you're growing up, because your father was on the road doing, the
Mhm.
acting biz. Your mother's white, and I'm forgetting the other aspect of your mother. I know she was a hippie,
She was a
right?
hippie. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a hippie. But you had your Lola, that was giving you
Yeah.
some inflections.
My tita was
Uh,
around. My tita was like, she
yeah,
looked after us a lot. And my mom really, really, really tried to keep us in touch
yeah,
with our Filipino heritage as best as she could. She had, we had like our Lola who lived in the same city as us, like not like blood Lola, but Lola. We had, my tita was still living with us uh, when she wasn't in the Philippines. So I had these like unofficial blood who
yeah,
were nearby and who were, able to provide some stuff for us. But at the same time, this was late 90s, early 2000s. Like
yeah.
People still don't know what a Filipino is.
Yeah, that's what I was curious. Was there more cultural awakenings in the high school years that
It's
were
funny
that
because,
increased more, or was it still not to like college days? Maybe.
yeah, I mean, yes and no, in that my high school that I went to was like 90% Asian and overwhelmingly Chinese, which is great. I made a lot of friends. I started to understand at least that, other people understood Asians existed. But it was weird because, we had maybe one or two other Filipinos in the school,
Hmm.
you know, and they were like, for lack of better phrasing, very, very whitewashed, as, most of us are just by nature of how we come up. But I remember trying because one of the other Filipinos was like, "Oh, I'll teach you some Tagalog." And I was like, "Oh, that's great." And then we hung out once and it never happened.
I
But
understand.
I tried really hard to find those connections, but I couldn't. I really, really couldn't. And that kind of carried through some of my college years,
Mm.
especially looking at getting into acting because my big push in the beginning was never voiceover, you know. My push was getting into like action movies. My push was getting into on camera, TV, film, that sort of thing. And the thing I always, 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 always heard from any acting teacher I ever worked with was like, "Oh, you're ethnically ambiguous."
Bro, I get that all the
Yeah,
time.
right,
Yes,
right, right,
sir.
right. Like I
Yeah.
remember my this is way past college years, but one of my first times being in LA on my own, I remember I was hanging out in Little Tokyo and this nice Latino man came up to me and just started speaking Spanish to me and I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Filipino." And he had a we had a good laugh over it. Or I have Middle Eastern folks come up to me and greet me and start speaking their languages, and I'm like, I love you, I respect you, I'm Filipino.
Yep.
And there have been those moments where I didn't have that connection with my background, with my blood, right? And I'm happy to say that it has since become a closer connection, but man, it wasn't always that way. And the how do we say, the shallowness of the film and TV industry, even now, is very is harmful, but also, you know, so old fashioned in that
Hmm.
way, you know?
Agreed. Yeah,
I
man.
remember, yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, no. I was like, yeah, man, I totally can relate in every single one of those statements, every experience that you had, completely relate.
Yeah, man. Like I remember coming up and I remember one of the first commercials I auditioned for was like some fucking Better Call Saul ass shit that was like, I got seriously injured in this car accident, but so and so helped me do this, blah blah blah. And I remember the casting director being like, "Oh, can you do like a Mexican accent? And can you like, because I had hair at the time, they were like, hey, can you like slick your hair back?" And I was like, what do you what? What do you want from me?"
Yeah.
Ugh, it's ridiculous, man.
Yeah. Ah, all right, bro. Um,
Hmm,
so just all these different
I
past
know.
experiences
I know.
come running through. So all right, let's go back to, we're still in high school.
Please,
We're
yeah.
gonna get out of high school because we're gonna go to college. So the aspiration, as you said, you were in clubs, you went hard, once you
I
got there.
went
You
hard.
took it
I
once
went
you took
so
advantage
hard.
of acting classes, drama, all the things, the clubs.
Hmm.
You're getting ready to graduate though. While you said your father was in the corner because he was doing it, and you did say your mom was in your corner as well.
Very
So
much so, yeah.
was, hey, we're getting ready to go off to college, or were you looking for college? What was that like? What were they saying? What's your path? What are you trying to do? And then where did you ultimately decide to go? And
Yeah.
all of that. And did you
I
have a fallback plan? Was there something else that you're into that, you like, I'm gonna be an actor, or if it doesn't happen, I'm gonna do this. What was all that for you getting ready to
I had a
graduate?
couple fallbacks, but all of those fell away. Um, so when I was 13, when I was just starting high school, my mom got in a really bad car accident and she broke her back. She's made a recovery. She is still alive and well to this day, and she's doing great now. But through that, and with my dad leaving, we ended up losing almost all of the money that my mom and dad had both made. And that, we had to survive. So, my brother and I both had college funds that our parents had put together for us, and they had to dip into those so we could survive. And I get that. But at the time when I was coming out, I wasn't really thinking in terms of post-secondary. I had a couple things in mind that were real pie in the sky. Like I remember I applied to Juilliard when I was 17. I applied to the New York Academy of Film. I applied to the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts. New York wanted me, but I wasn't in a financial position to make it happen. So I ended up, hanging out here in Vancouver and trying to find things that fit for me. And I eventually ended up at a school which is no longer around called School Creative, um, which was really, really formative for me in a lot of ways. I'm still very tight with a lot of the teachers I had then when I was like in my early 20s. But there was a time when I was like, oh, if this doesn't work, I'll be an interior designer. I don't know why I ever said that. I can't fucking draw. There were times when I was like, oh, if this doesn't work, I'll go be God, anything. I majored in history when I was in college for the couple years I was in college. And, I was like, oh, I'll just go teach. I mean, that seems to have sorted itself out because I still teach, but I don't teach fucking history. But, I really I didn't have a serious backup plan at any point. Partially because financially it wasn't viable. There was no way to to pursue another thing when this was the thing that I had my eyes on. And I know that, financially it's perhaps not the most responsible thing to be all like, I want to be an artist. I want to be an actor first and foremost. That's all I got. That's all I'll ever be. But man, that's all I wanted and that's all I could ever be.
Yeah. You have a dream, man.
Yeah.
You're not gonna stop.
Yeah.
So going to school, so how did you make the dream happen? How did we get to where you're at now? Like, were you taking special classes? Did you revert back to high school years, making your own films or whatever? Just, getting a crew together or just,
Yeah.
how how did, if you can recall the process and maybe some of the things you failed at because everybody tries everything, just to make that happen. And that lesson learned to, not make that mistake or,
Oh, dude,
yeah.
so many of those, right? Like
Yeah,
even
like what
now,
pitfalls can you tell people that are watching this to avoid and, just everything?
yeah, I mean, one of the biggest pitfalls I remember is like, I'm sure you've heard those ads on the radio that are like, we have top casting directors from Disney who want to see you, and we have agents who are setting up at the Airport Delta at fucking Hilton, right? And like, those are all scams, kind of across the board. And though I never fell for one, I'm very happy I never fell for one. I have run into people who have fallen for them. And I remember I had this conversation early on when I was just kind of like an independent acting teacher. I answered a Craigslist ad for this person who was looking for a coach for her children. And I met with them and I spoke to the mom and I was like, oh, do your kids have representation? And the mom said, oh, yeah, we pay $9,000 a month each to this so and so for this. And I was like, you,
Wait, what?
you what? You pay how I'm in the wrong business, man. It's a
Actually, that
shame I've
already
got.
has a question that I'm going to have later, like how you transition to teaching. Because to me, that seemed like probably one of the light bulb moments. I think I need to teach.
Yeah, that was one of those moments where I was seriously like, oh, this is bad. Like this person is being taken advantage of. And yeah, I mean, to be completely upfront, they were in a beautiful mansion. They weren't missing $9,000 a month per kid. So I didn't feel like horrible. But I still felt the need to be like, yo, maybe call them. maybe check in with them, maybe see what's up, because you should never be paying to your agent unless they're booking you, right? But yeah, so I went to acting school. The focus of my acting school was very film and TV, but a lot of our teachers were like, one of them who I still keep in touch with to this day, like we go out for drinks, we hang out, he's great. He described it as the creator of that school kind of hit at the exact right time to have the best faculty in Vancouver under her roof. Like she was fucking P.T. Barnum. Like she had the wildest, weirdest, but most skilled acting teachers in the city working under her. And the school was really only around for probably 5, 6 years before it got bought out by another school and everyone got fired. But I was in that 5 year period. I did 2 years. And I ended up with a really well-rounded education of, Adler techniques, some Meisner, some real classic acting training, some real modern stuff, improv, clown, like they ran the fucking gamut to prepare us. And we ended up producing like a couple films through the school that we all starred in, we all wrote, so I did some writing and starring on that. But at the end of the day, I got out and I was like, I am so fucking ready. I'm so pumped to make this happen. And routinely, every casting director in the city was like, cool, what the fuck do we do with you? Because I continue to be a 5'3" stocky Filipino kid, only I wasn't like muscly like I am now. I was just long haired. And they didn't know what to do with me because they were like, "Oh, are you Mexican? Are you indigenous? Are you
Yeah.
Persian? Like, what are you?" And I'm like, I'm Filipino. Do you know what that is?" And no one knows what a Filipino is back then. So I ended up really fucking depressed for a while, because I was getting nowhere. I was banging my head against walls, smashing it against ceilings to try and get anywhere, and nothing was taking, nothing was happening. And, at the time, I was like working as a bartender and I was doing like temp work. I was working in warehouses. I was doing whatever I could to make ends meet. And my agent at the time, who has since passed, but she was wonderful, happened to be very dear friends with a gentleman named Michael Dobson, who is a legend. He was on all the Ocean dubs from back in the day. He's like he still works to this day. He's a wonderful man. My agent at the time was like, "Hey, my friend Michael's got a workshop and a spot opened up. Do you want it?" And I was like, "Sure, whatever. What else am I doing this weekend?" So I ended up going out to Dobson's place in like Surrey, which is a suburb of Vancouver. I guess it's its own city now, but it's still a big suburb to me. And man, I shit you not, I fell in love. I'd always loved cartoons. I'd always loved video games. Genuinely, some of my favorite entertainment sources. But doing this workshop with Dobson changed my life.
Wow.
It opened my eyes, and I was like, shit, people make a living off this.
This was
This
your
is
first
how
voiceover acting class.
this was my first voiceover acting class outside of like the one day we had in school.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And this was like a full weekend workshop that was
Wow.
dedicated, and there were like four of us in the room. I don't remember who the other people were, but there were four of us. And I was just like, yo, this isn't just a an offshoot of acting. This is its own craft. And from there, I was like, this is my focus. And, I still do on camera once in a while. I still do theater. I did theater a lot through those times. But voiceover became my focus, my big focus. Because to me, especially coming off of a place where everyone was like, what the fuck are you? Who are you? What do we do with you? The thing that really struck me about VO was it didn't matter who you were. It didn't matter how nice your six pack was. Not great. It didn't matter how nice your hair is. It just mattered, can you do the job? Can you be a part of this story and tell this story? And that really resonated with me. And that's not to say that, like, in that time, there's been a lot of evolution and growth within VO, and a lot of very necessary pushes for proper representation, diversity, equity within the art that needs to be there. That is incredibly important. At the same time, in that moment, I was like, I can do this because no one knows what the fuck I am. No one knows how to cast me. I don't know how to do this in terms of like playing the game they want me to play, but I can play this game and I can nail it and I can feel good about it.
Bro. I feel that, dude, because I went through that too. There was that moment you almost want to quit the shit because
Oh
you're like,
yeah.
fuck, man, I'm not blue-eyed blonde, blonde haired, just all of that stuff. I'm not muscular enough. I'm not the stereotypical Asian, you
Yeah.
know, that they want. I'm Filipino, and who do we cast
I
Filipino?
know.
And here in DC, well, we'll cast them Puerto Rican. That's what I
Yeah.
would get. I'm ethnically ambiguous, and you just get it all. And so for me, I was like, instead of going, I almost, it's this ain't about me, it's about you. But like you, I thought about voiceover, but then I was like, you know what? Let me start writing, producing, because I love that element of
Mm.
it. I know how to edit. I know how to do all those things.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like both sides of that coin, but went more into production because I was also an actor with a security clearance here in the DC area and found myself being able to act as well as write and produce stuff
Yeah.
here, and that kind of like took on a life of its own, which has been my blessing as a creative here in the DC area.
Yeah.
But I echo that. I feel that, man. It's amazing and it's beautiful that you can do your dream still, although it had a shift a little bit in because of
Yeah.
the sad circumstances of the way, not you're brilliant, but the way the world is, and they don't see you for who you are, that you have to do another path to make it happen, is beautiful, man. But also hard, like
It's what
it's
we got to
heartbreaking
do.
that we have
It
to
is.
shift.
But at the same time, like,
Yeah.
yes, I've had to shift a fair bit, but you know, what roles was I looking at the time, right?
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
looking at Mexican car crash victim.
Yeah, and if there was, it was stereotypical bullshit. So
Yeah.
it's really until the whole industry changed and there's more of us behind the camera, and that's why I shifted to writing and
Yeah.
producing. Because until we're really behind things, we're always going to get typecast.
Yeah. Yeah, and
So
that's just what it is, right? And
yeah,
I mean, I'm very thankful that in the past few years, literally maybe 4 years, I have gotten the opportunity to read for Filipino roles. But I shit you not, man, in the past 10 years prior to those years, I auditioned for Filipino twice.
mm,
And one was very clearly like my Tito, like it was not me. And one was like this big fucking warlord dude, and I'm like, why am I here for this? I'm 5'3", bro. Like, what do you want from me?
yeah,
But in the past 3-4 years, we've had, Easter Sunday came through, which was, you know, great for Filipino representation on a large scale. There has been more understanding that Filipinos are here, that we have, our own culture, our own history, our own incredible talent to bring to the stage of wherever we're going to be. It's been really lovely to see the representation we're getting, even if I can also acknowledge that it's not enough.
well said, brother. Well said. All right, so let's talk about some of the, as we were in college, we're now doing it, we're making things happen. You're teaching here and there,
I
you
am
know.
I am teaching here and there.
So yeah, when did we go out to LA? When what was the whole fly out to LA thing? Was there an opportunity that happened, or just take
That
me
was
along
purely
to more
just
of the
like,
acting journey after,
yeah.
you know?
So I started teaching. I picked up a job just helping teach kids acting classes at a small studio here in Vancouver, where I was mentored by Kirby Morrow, who, brilliant man, again, rest in peace. But I was just like starting to get the bug. It was starting to get the bug again, I should say. And I was starting to understand more and more. I was starting to build out my craft. And I'd made the trips out to LA a couple times, and the one where, I was mistaken for Latino, which is most of them, honestly. Um, I I was just there for funsies. I didn't really start traveling to LA for work until maybe 5, 6 years ago, maybe. And part of that has just been, there's been a lot of tribalism within the various cities to protect work in there. I'm a dual citizen. So my mom from South Carolina by way of Florida made sure I was taken care of when I was a kid. So I am free to work basically wherever I please in the States with no limitations. The only problem with that is really prior to COVID, there wasn't a lot of push for people to look beyond their major metros. So, with Vancouver, I mean, Canada is still Canada. Canada doesn't look beyond its two cities that exist here, three with Montreal. But, LA, New York didn't really feel the need to look beyond LA or New York for talent. And the push has happened within the past 5 or so years where I'm starting to be seen. I've built relationships with studios in the LA area, in the New York area, where the studios know me, so they can call me, and we can get on the horn and do some work together. But yeah, I mean, for a long time, it was just me in Vancouver here repping it out, trying to stay afloat, trying to get on jobs, and I've had the incredible privilege of being on a lot of really cool projects here. But as with every actor, I've also had the incredible privilege on being on projects that have 100% never been seen by anybody here.
Yeah, I know that full well as an actor, like you said, with the security industrials. I've done thousands of security industrials that will never be seen unless you have a security clearance.
Yeah,
Crazy.
Exactly, right?
Insane.
Some of my best work is under lock
I've
and
blown
key
shit
in
up.
a fucking vault.
I've had large budgets, but you'll never see it. It's crazy.
Never.
Yeah. So you fell in love. Let's going back to the VO.
Please.
Falling in love with VO. You took the class. And again, as we kind of continued a little bit into more forward, you built relationships with studios, but in order to do that, you fell in with it. Let's talk about like the first big break, building up that demo that would then eventually have these relationships for you. Take me to that. Like, what was like the first big project, after taking that class that really, put your feet on the ground, and then just you got into a jet and just started flying, building up the demo, of various types of voices, because I know that's a large part of it.
It is,
and so on and so forth.
So there was kind of two that first kind of blew me up personally. The very first project I ever booked on, like big project I ever booked on, was a video game that was never released, unfortunately, but it was Pirates of the Caribbean: Armada of the Damned, which was doomed. It was a wonderful game. It was a very cool game, but it just never happened because the studio shuttered. But I was 10 voices on that. I had 10 voices on that, including some like major questline NPCs, some various fight guys. Like it was a great job, and the script was outstanding. I'm genuinely sad it never made it, not just for me, but because I want to play the game. The other one that really, really, really got me, at least in the very beginning, was this show called Yoo-Hoo and Friends, which was this kids cartoon. But the scripts for the kids show were like, it was this Korean show that the property got bought by this studio in LA. And the scripts all got rewritten. So as opposed to like the Korean show, which was very like these 5 little animal creatures go around and they solve ecological disasters. This one got rewritten. It was rewritten by Thomas Krajewski and David Feast. David was the chief cook and bottle washer on like Cow and Chicken. He used to work for Ren and Stimpy in the day. And Thomas was the head writer on Fairly Odd Parents. So the show got rewritten to be about these like 5 like oil execs, like shitty oil execs who got transformed into these little critters by Father Time, played by Flavor Flav. Yeah.
Wow.
And, they had to like undo all the damage they'd done to the earth in order to get turned back into people.
Wow.
So I got brought in on that show as one of the bad guys, but I ended up being a utility player on the show. So I was always in the room and they were just like, hey, we've got a new character. Can you handle this? Can you handle this? Can you handle this? And that was such a formative experience for me because I'd been hired for one role and all of a sudden they're like, oh, can you handle? I think I ended up with like 26 different characters
Holy
over the
shit.
course of like, yeah, exactly. Exactly, dude.
Wow.
Yeah. And those were like characters with names. Those weren't just like, asshole number one. That
Wow.
was like one of my first bookings was this thing where every week I'd be coming in and they'd be like, hey, yeah, so you've got this one character, but you also have these four that we need to cover. Can you handle that?
Wow. Did you get
So,
to renegotiate? I'm like, did you get to renegotiate a contract? Can I get more?
man, no,
Yeah, that would have been
I didn't
crazy,
know. That would have been nuts, but
right? That's crazy. So
it
that
was truly
really
crazy.
helped solidify, I guess, like your first demo, if you will, or if you did you have a VO demo at that time,
I
other than
did have a
like
demo at that time,
classes,
yeah. I
you know?
did. I had the demo that, I had worked with a coach to build at the
Okay,
time.
yeah, exactly, because you
Yeah,
do that until you have a full or like,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I didn't have like produced shit until then. But
yeah.
after that show, after the 10 on Pirates, after other projects at the time, like I then had enough where I was able to go back into my very bad first demo and reconfigure and rework so it sounded really, really nice.
You know what? For those VO cats that are watching this right now, because yeah, it's the amazing Jesse Onokaya. What would you say about that? About proper demos for those that are chasing this dream? Like you
Ooh,
did, you worked because that, like most of my other friends
yeah,
too. Until you have that body work to create your demo to reflect that, you work with a teacher to like get the right
yeah.
stuff. Just a quick highlight, maybe for those cats that are watching, listening, want to take a piece from this in regards to what you did.
Yeah, genuinely the best thing you can do, especially if it's like your first demo or your first couple demos, work with a pro. Truly work with a pro. Don't, this is an investment, right? Like you wouldn't go to Sears for your headshots. You want to make sure that you're getting good quality out there because in a lot of cases, this will be the first time any of these people, studios, casting directors, directors, creatives, will have ever heard your voice before, will have ever heard you before, right? And they're looking for any reason to turn that tape off. It's not personal. It's just they got a million tapes to get through. They want to get your vibe and they want to keep moving. So you want to work with somebody who knows what they're talking about, who knows what the industry wants right now, and somebody who has, recent credits to back it up so that when you produce that first reel, you are out the gate fucking running.
Completely agree. Completely agree. You know what? Since we're on that on pro tips, real quick,
Please.
studio setup now. You know how like the evolution of VO has
Oh God,
changed.
yeah.
I've been in studio before and I've done stuff at home. Do you have any feelings or vibes on that? Anything you've learned? Any material
Yeah,
you
yeah.
suggest? Equipment?
I mean,
Uh,
truly, so much of what I've done, almost all of the gigs I've done over the past 3 years have been through my home studio.
yeah.
Outside of,
And how you feel
uh,
about that? Do you prefer that? Because I don't know, there's something special in the studio, that
yeah,
immediate response back from the producer on the other
yeah.
side, you know?
There's parts of it I love and there's parts of it I don't love.
Yeah.
There's the part I love is that I can like roll out of bed and like eat my breakfast before I jump into studio and not have to worry about the commute or not have to worry about like picking an outfit for the day or something. I like that.
Yeah.
But I really do miss the camaraderie. When we were first recording Dragon Prince in 2017, 16, 17, somewhere in there. It was all of us. It was all eight of us main cast in the room together, and we just got to vibe. We got to bounce off each other. We got to work off each other. I still think some of the best lessons I've had in this craft, especially for modern day, came from those early rooms where I can watch these actors who I very much respect do their thing and just nail it over and over and over and over again. But, I understand why things have moved the way they have. And certainly, in Canada, we had a very swift and generally pretty good response to COVID. You know, a lot of us were recording from home for a while. If we were doing in studio, it'd be one of us in studio at a time, and they'd sanitize the studio between each of us to make sure we're all good. But that was a new challenge, I felt. I took it as a new challenge because all of a sudden I didn't have my friends in the room with me.
Mm.
I needed to summon their energies. I needed to work with the energy that I would feel they would give to make that work. You know?
Yeah. So you were
So
like,
I
they were
please
reading, was there like a producer reading to you and you weren't actually getting their clip to feed off of?
sometimes, yeah,
Yeah, that could, yeah,
sometimes,
you need
which
that
is
energy.
wild. You need the energy, but like I love a challenge. So I see this come through and I'm like, oh shit, okay, I gotta really fucking prove myself here. I gotta work, right? Because I don't have Raquel or Jason or Paula or Jack to be able to bounce off of. I need to summon this myself. I need to make this work myself. And, I'm happy to say that I really feel like I did. And even, I did another project quite recently where, again, I guess it just wasn't feasible to bring all the actors in at the same time. It was just me. It was just me, and it wasn't even the producer reading the other lines. It was just, okay, go.
Oh, wow.
And it's funny because having worked so long in my home studio for projects where, even AAA projects, they want exactly that. So I already had the relevant training to really come in and be all like, yeah, this is what I know how to do.
Mm. So how do you prepare, brother? What is your trick for that? When you don't have, you know, you get the sides, you get the scripts or whatever,
Yeah.
how do you get ready to record a session without having anybody to feed off of knowledge of the project? What is that like for you to just create, man? Literally.
Mm-hmm. It depends on the project.
Yeah.
I think ultimately, like, my big thing is I want to vibe with the character.
Yeah.
I got to find a way to vibe with the character, right? Because at the end of the day, the character is you. You bring something to the character as opposed to like, you're not creating this thing whole cloth. This is going to be a part of you, or there's going to be some part of you that resonates with this character. What is it? And, maybe it's something as small as they and I have the same laugh. That could be it. Or maybe it could be something as big as like looking at Soren from Dragon Prince, for example. Soren is a character who really puts on a brave front, but has a lot of internal stuff he's dealing with. And especially in the first 3 seasons of the show, one of the big things he deals with is his family legacy. So, as I've said in this interview, my dad is a grandmaster martial artist. He is always looking to me to like, he'll be like, "Oh, anak, we have demo for the consulate. You need to show up." And I'm like, "Okay, well, fine, I'll be there, right?" Or, "Oh, we have Filipino Independence Day Festival. You need to arrange your students and go." And I'm like, "Okay, sure, whatever." But and of course, this to say, I love my dad very much. He is in no way a Viren, but at the same time, there's that
Yeah.
of duty that comes with for all being Filipino for starts, but also having a grandmaster martial artist as my father when I'm expected to succeed him.
Mm.
So that became an instant way through for me with Soren, where I
Wow.
was like, oh, this is 1-to-1. I can make this work.
Yeah.
But whatever that like way in is, find that way in. And if there isn't a way in, maybe it's another thing. I tell students all the time, it might be as little as, you know, or it might be as big rather as, in this scene, your character needs to save the world. I've never had that in my life. I've never been in a position where it is on me to save the world.
Mm-hmm.
But it has been on me to like look after something that I'm responsible for that's of great importance to me or to my family or to my friends.
Mm.
It's not one-to-one, but I can take what I do have and expound on it further. I can imagine what the stakes would be further, right? And then let those stakes become real. Let that imaginary thing become at least as real as it can be within the craft.
Mm. So do you ask for like a lot of descriptions, some descriptors? Do you just straight up read the whole script to like figure out the character? Or also you had this happen in I can like I said, I could relate with this when you were in that one situation where they asked you to speak more, I think it was Mexican or
Yeah.
Hispanic. I had where I was a Asian character and they asked me to speak more Asian. I'm fucking Asian.
What do you
You want
want,
me
man?
to,
I'm
so
speaking Asian. What do you want?
exactly. How can I be more Asian when I'm fucking Asian right now talking to you?
Yeah.
And I won't even tell you that was so traumatic and I felt so I that's a whole story for another day, brother. Like I slowed down my pattern. I gave them their stereotypical Asian, but I felt so shamed. But because I was already paid for the gig, it was from Maryland Public Television, dude, and it was crazy. Anyway, like
It's what it is,
flashbacks, it
man.
was like just the wildest thing ever to me. But yeah. So descriptors, reading the full thing, or do you get to play around with it? Like, do they already know? Okay, we got Jesse and Inocalla coming in. They already kind of have an idea what your voice is. Do they, but or when they book you from the demo, can you go like a kiddie-ish voice? Like what is your freedom like when with booking? I'm
Yeah.
curious.
More often than not, it's the audition. They
Okay,
come in and
so
they're
you already
like,
know what it's.
so I have an idea of what's going on. Soren was an audition. The audition for Soren was like, think Joey Tribbiani with a sword. Think like James Spader in an 80s movie, but, he has a heart of gold. We just don't know it yet, sort of thing. And those two descriptors were immediately relevant to me, or I was like, oh, I know who this guy is. I can make this happen. But I've also had situations where I do get booked off a demo or I get booked off my reel, and they're just like, oh, yeah, we have this guy. What do you got for him? And I will maybe see a picture of the guy, or commonly I'll hear ref of like the original audio if it's dubbing or if it's a video game. And they'll want me to either kind of like hit that or match that or come up with something similar that works. Right?
Yeah.
And then it's a matter of kind of letting the voice guide me first to try and make that a thing.
Okay, I feel that. What do you
If
enjoy
I
the
do,
most? What
yeah.
types of voice work do you enjoy the most? Do you
Oh,
like,
God.
without, I know, and it's probably hard to pick your babies, but let's not pick babies because we don't want to make fans of the amazing media projects you've been on be like, oh, he did that one over that one. We won't do that. But just when you're in the booth, what do you do? Do you like something that's more so your regular voice? Do you like any particular kind of a style, inflection or
Yeah.
something?
I So when I first got into the VO world,
Yeah.
all I wanted to do was play villains. Because villains are so much fun, they're so
Yeah.
cool. I had that mindset to the detriment of me auditioning for other things.
Ooh, very true.
Where I was like, no, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. And then as I started letting go of that bullshit that I was dealing with, I started auditioning for a lot of like comic relief. I started auditioning for the himbo characters. I started auditioning for like pro tags and shit. And I started finding a lot of joy in that. And what I came to realize is that I had been pigeonholing myself forever, which was probably detrimental, but has probably corrected by now. That to say, the thing that I enjoy the most is collaboration. So using Dragon Prince as an example, I've told this story before, but it still shocks me to this day. I remember I booked the job and my agent reached out to me. She's like, hey, Jesse, the creators want your email. They want to be able to like talk to you. And I was like, dude, they're paying my rent. Yeah, they can do whatever the fuck they please. Give them anything. Give them my socials. It's fine. So I get an email from Aaron and Justin. Aaron Ahas, Justin Richmond, the creators of the show. Aaron is like the head writer of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Justin is one of the leads on The Last of Us and on the Uncharted games. None of which I realized at the time, I should say. I didn't know this. I Googled their names after they emailed me, and I made that face like Troy when he meets LeVar Burton on Community. I was just like, but anyway, they emailed me, and this was they emailed me, and we had our very first table read, which was the first 4 episodes. And afterwards, they emailed me again. And I was so sure this was some boilerplate bullshit. I was just like, whatever, man. They probably emailed the same thing to everybody. They just changed names. And it was like, hey, Jesse, thank you so much for being a part of the show. We really love what you bring to Soren. If you have any comments, questions, reactions, we want to hear it. We want to hear how you connect to Soren. We want to hear all this stuff. And I was like, bullshit. No, they don't. They don't want this. Anyway, a couple fingers of bourbon later, I was like, sure, let's give them everything. So I ended up writing probably 4 pages. Partially, which was like, first off, thank you so much for bringing me into the show. I really appreciate it. This is such a wonderful show to be a part of. Love the character, love the world. I told Aaron and Justin a bit about my relationship with my dad and how I connected to Soren and how that related to him. And I gave them my thoughts and comments, my honest thoughts, comments, reactions to the first 4 episodes. And I sent it off into the universe. I hit send and dropped it into the abyss, fully thinking I would never hear from them about this. I probably sent this at like 9 or 10 p.m. on a Monday or a Tuesday. Within an hour, I got an email back from Aaron, who has since become a great friend. And I was just like, and the email was just like, thank you so much for sharing this. We never thought of Soren in some of these ways. You've given us some stuff to think about. And I was like,
Oh, wow.
they listened. They listened. And, Jason Simpson says the same thing, especially in terms of like a show that's in Vancouver, that's recording in Vancouver. Most of the time, this is not the level of interaction we get at all with the creatives. Most of the time, the creatives show up on a call and they're like, oh, yeah, that's good. And that's all we ever hear from them. But to have this level of access and this level of connection where the creatives actually really, really, really cared about what we had to say, it's special. And I think that reflects in the final show, because it goes to show how special it is to not only us, the actors, but to the whole creative team.
That's super dope, dude.
It blew my mind, man. It blew my mind. I was like, what? They're listening? This was supposed to be in a junk email somewhere.
Wow. Congrats, bro. That's awesome,
Thank
man.
you.
That's
Thank you.
lovely. That's super lovely. Super dope. Yeah, man. I can see again why tons of people like Dragon Prince, everybody. I've been hearing a lot of buzz about that. So let's talk about some of the amazing projects you've been on, man.
Please.
The Dragon Prince, we're big pony fans over here in my household. My wife, daughter, love My Little Pony. Just some of the project highlights, we love them all. We love to work. But for you, what was it? Was there anything special along your acting journey that you're like, wow, I got this one, I got that one? That also fulfilled the inner nerd in you, like working on a video game.
Oof.
That has to be super cool, because we talked earlier, Game Boy and gamers, from your childhood. What was that like to just hit those stepping stones along your way?
Any video game booking is still that for me. If I book a video game, I'm like, yes, fucking yes,
love it.
The big ones, there's a couple of big ones that really hit me. Pony was actually a big one for me. My Little Pony. I had 1 episode on that damn show, but even still, I auditioned for it endlessly. We get to I think I'm in the last or the second last season of the show, and I go into audition, and the character he's described as like a pony that enjoys the science of humor. So I'm going in with like my NPR Ira Glass voice kind of thing. And I get a callback for it, and it's me and 2 other guys. And the pony in the callback is bald and has a little beard and glasses. And I was like, oh, well, I guess this is me then. But what really got me on that one was, as with a lot of us, I have been a gigantic Weird Al Yankovic fan my entire life. Some of my most formative concert experiences were seeing him in concert. I went to go see him in concert when he was here last year. Like, I adore the man. And I didn't know this at the time because I wasn't up on the pony lore. My character in the show was his right-hand man.
What?
My character has a song with Weird Al that I got to do. And I'm
That's
like,
surreal,
yo, technically
man.
I'm on a Weird Al track.
Wow. That's
That
awesome.
one blew my mind. That one
Yeah.
totally blew my mind. The times I've gotten the opportunity to work for Marvel have been
Yeah.
great.
You're Spider-Ham, bro.
I am Spider-Ham.
I remember when we joined when Barcada, when we were like, first meeting all each other and everything. I was like, fucking Spider-Man. As you can tell, I'm a Spider-Man freak. I have all of the cast members I have everybody that played Spider-Man. I have their autographs on my wall.
Oh.
And actually, when you came on Barcada, I was like, we're going to become friends at some point. And at some point, so like right now, I'm already telling you right now, Jesse, I need to find a 8x10 picture of one of your Spider-Mans. I think he was a Spider-Ham in Battle World, if I'm not mistaken.
I was Spider-Ham in Battle World. Yeah.
I need a Battle World Spider-Ham 8x10 signed by Jesse Inocalla from my wall.
I am looking for someone to commission me a Spider-Ham piece because I loved that role. It was so weird because like I'm a big Spider-Man guy myself. I love Spider-Man. I'm more of an X-Man guy than Spider-Man, but still big Spider-Man guy.
Yeah.
And when Spider-Verse came out, I was so hyped to see like Spider-Ham in the lineup because I was like, this is such a weird, like deep cut. I'm so happy he's getting him and Noir. I was like, I'm so happy to see these two out of everybody. And I went to audition for the show. And again, I auditioned for everyone on the show. Like I read for Loki. I read for Thanos. I read for anyone I could.
Yeah, right.
And
I'd take any of them.
I'd take any of them. And I went in for Spider-Ham and I did my thing. I did my whole like Spider-Ham Mulaney thing. And the casting director, Adrian, who's a very, very dear friend, was like, is that a voice you do? Is that just something you do? And I was like, no, I never really thought I had it in me before today. So when I booked that, I was like, oh shit, fucking A, man. I'm a Spider-Man. I'm a Spider-Ham.
Hell yeah, bro.
So that was also really big for me.
Dig it, man. Super dope. So
and of course, I mean, the thing that I always like to say is like my favorite project is the next one, you know?
Yeah.
Whatever fuels me, you know? I'm very, very fortunate to have been a part of some incredible franchises and incredible projects. But I always want to see what's next around the corner.
Yeah.
I always want to be pushing for that next thing.
So, you know what? That just reminds me. That actually makes me want to go back to some, you know, questions. You fell in love with VO. We talked to VO. So hopefully that all the VO cast out there that love Mr. Dragon Prince, Jesse Inocalla right now, Soren, you know, that we fulfilled that. But I saw you, oh my God, the name's escaping me real quick right now. Totally Killer. I was like watching fucking Totally Killer, and I was like, that's my boy Jesse right there, because I already knew you by this point. And I was like, fucking, it's just, you know, when you're watching TV and you notice your friends, and you know, when you're in this industry, you're like watching the commercials. Oh, there's a friend popping up. But yeah, watching Totally Killer for because I had the interviews with the director and all that kind of shit.
Oh,
and, here's my man Jesse. Still acting as a person, because you know, again, it's hard to book roles. You know, you're still doing it.
I genuinely love the craft, man. Any opportunity I get to like show up and do the work, and Totally Killer was such a fun opportunity to do exactly that. And like working with Notch, and like she was wonderful to work with. Getting to work with Kiernan Shipka was really lovely. She's just a real gem of a person.
Yeah.
Like it was such a fun experience, and to get to come in and just be so fucking obstinate the entire time while I'm on screen was wonderful.
Yeah. So getting to still, you know, act with your whole self instead of just your voice. Tell me about that and those pursuits, and just, you know, voiceover is your bread and butter now, which is, and there's something you love. But you know, we still want to act as a whole person, right? So
you know, my agent, my film and TV agent says it best, in that, you know, we are being on set's fun. Being on set's fun. Getting to work is fun, you know? I'm not above coming in for a co-star. I'm not above coming in for a two-liner. I think that's fun. I like to do that, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah, of course I want bigger shit, but fuck, man, Totally Killer was great. I love being on Totally Killer.
exact
I
shit.
love being on. I had one episode on Legends of Tomorrow where I came in and they needed like a Shakespearean actor to do Heatwave. And I was like, well, okay, here we go. I'm bald. I got a beard. Let's go.
I feel that.
Like
Yeah,
that was so fun, you know? I think it's really important that as artists, we never cut ourselves off from any form of the art,
agreed.
you know?
Yeah,
Whatever fuels us. And if art fuels you, don't be like, oh, well, I'm never going to do film and TV. I'm never
exactly.
going to do theater. I'm never going to do improv. I'm never going to do VO, right? Like those are all things you can do to fuel
Yeah.
your art, to fuel your soul.
Yeah, definitely agree. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When I was first starting out, did background just to get my feet wet, just to know who the local cats were. You know what I'm saying? Being
Hmm.
on a set is it's just a whole experience. Now I'm kind of like I don't do background. It's been a long time since I did background. I'm
Yeah.
under five. If anything, definitely will do that. But yeah, it's just all about working, being around the culture, being around people, and getting your face out there.
Yeah.
Um,
And making your own stuff too, or, being
exactly.
a
That's
part of
key for
like,
me. Key for
I do a lot of stuff here in Vancouver with like the indie genre scene, you
yeah.
know. We just released a we just released a podcast by Kevin Ong, I want to say his name who is producing this this horror anthology podcast series under his production company, Hollow Hollow Productions, that is all like different horror shit. And they
Yeah.
asked me to lend a voice to one of their podcasts. I was like, absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to do that. That's fun. I got contacted by a an audio drama company in New York City, called No Such Thing Productions, to do I did an audio series for them and I did an audio feature for them. Like these aren't huge projects at all. These are just like literally funded by the creators and they're great.
Hell
They feel
yeah.
wonderful to be a part of.
Love it. Love it. Keeps us working, keeps us fulfilling that creative id,
Yeah, it keeps us
if you will.
connected, right?
Yeah.
Like if all we ever do is I mean, not that I have experience with this, but I imagine if all we ever do is star in a Marvel movie,
Yeah. I'd rather
eventually
be
they'll
that
like
that
leave
that what
our
do you call
eyes.
that that back what do we call it? Those character actors, if
Yeah,
you will, than
absolutely.
a
I think
than a
that's way
big
more
lead.
interesting.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because you want consistency. You want to just be
I'd
able to,
rather it be like Robert Downey Jr. pre-Iron Man than post-Iron Man. I want
right?
the weird shit.
Hell yeah. So with that being said, we talked podcasts, we talked acting, but we brought this up earlier and we're gonna go back to it.
Yeah,
We found D&D. We remember
yeah.
to keep
Yeah.
acting going on, and now you're doing podcasting and all that as well.
Mhm.
Just the things we do to like right now. I'm an actor filmmaker as well, and but we do this. We talk and we promote our friends
For
to
sure.
just keep this creative energy going. Tell me about the other pursuits you're doing. You're teaching acting,
I am.
just all of that as well, Jesse.
Yeah, so I teach acting. I teach mostly privately, but I have workshops that come up once in a while through Sound On Studios or QueerVox or any other little local studios in LA. I teach Arnis here in Vancouver. Uh, I was teaching capoeira for a while, but I'm coming back into that. Um, I do a lot of D&D. I do a lot of tabletop content these days. When I got the opportunity when Tales of Xadia dropped, written by Dan Telfer, which is the official Dragon Prince TTRPG, and it's really good, man. It's genuinely real. The system's great, the writing's great. It's outstanding. Um, the company that did it brought me on to help promote it
Nice.
and run a quick little campaign with them, right? I run campaigns with, my small groups here. I try and jump on for like a charity stream or a podcast when I can. Like we find all these things to fuel ourselves, right? And
Yes.
I was saying this to an actor the other day. There's nothing more boring than an actor who's just an actor.
Right?
If you're just like, if all you're talking about is acting, if all you're doing is like reading acting books, if you're just sitting by your phone, just being like,
Yep.
is it ringing yet?
Yep. Because
That shit's never
yeah,
gonna happen. It's
you
never
gotta
gonna
go out and
happen.
live, bro. You
You
gotta
gotta live
live.
your life, right?
Yeah.
Like you gotta have other things in your life that aren't acting. And I fully admit I fell victim to this for years, where I was just like, my entire life needs to be this one thing.
Yeah.
But, I'm in my 30s now. I know better now than I
What are
did
your
in my
cures for blocks?
genuinely, man, it could be anything. I remember I was working on this one audition and it was 8 lines of dialogue. It was 7 lines in a conversation and a monologue, and it was for a lead on a show that I really, 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 really wanted. And I go into my booth, I'm repping it out, I am trying to get this shit done. 2 hours later, I emerge sweaty, disgusting, looking like a goddamn golem. And I go and I listen to all the takes I've done. I've done maybe 15 takes. And I am so sure I've nailed it. They all sound the same and I hate them all. So I delete them all. I'm stewing. And then I just like, I need to disconnect. So I go and I sit down on my couch and I just play Bloodborne for like 3 hours. I just do anything to get my mind off it. I go for a nice walk with my dog. I go treat myself to lunch at like a local sushi joint or something. I do whatever I can to not think about the job. And in this case, with this one, I was sitting playing Bloodborne for 3 hours, finally beat Vicar Amelia or whoever I was working on at the time. And I just didn't touch it for the rest of the day. I was just like, I need to go do other things. I need to involve myself in other pursuits. And I came back to it the next day and I was like, okay, you have 3 takes. You have 3 takes, otherwise you're going to drive yourself insane.
Mm.
And each of the 3 takes, I was happy to say, ended up very unique, very interesting, very different. And I was able to send them all off to my agent and at least feel good about what I did. I didn't book it. I got close, apparently.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, I had stuff I was proud of, and that's more important.
Love that.
So genuinely anything, I was
Okay.
telling Barkada, well, not recently, in the past 3 years, I used to be a big Warhammer kid,
Okay.
loved Warhammer, used to play it a lot as a kid. I don't really play it
Paint
as much anymore.
paint the
Yeah, yeah.
figures.
So I paint now. I paint to like
Okay.
deal with my anxiety or deal with my
Yeah.
depression. Like if I
Yeah.
have shit that if I have like a lot of anxiety and I don't know where to put it, I
Mm.
will, pick up a set and paint.
Nice.
And that has really helped as an outlet of just like, this is something I
Therapy,
enjoy
man.
doing. It feels therapeutic. I don't make any money. I spend way more money on it than I've ever made on it
Right.
because that shit's expensive. But at the same time, it lets me feel accomplished.
Yes.
I feel good. I can see the progress grow as from this for the shit I was painting, 3 years ago to where I'm painting now. That's been huge. Same with martial arts. My studies of both arnis and capoeira and other martial arts that I've picked up along the way, you can track the growth and you can feel good about the growth, right?
Mm.
It's like, I know a lot of actors who hit the gym regularly. I used to hit the gym like every goddamn day. And then I got bored because I was just doing the same shit in the gym every day. And I was like, I hate this,
Yeah.
which is what got me back. Prior to this current stretch I'm in, I spent probably 8, 9 years in and around the world of capoeira.
Hmm.
And I took a couple years off and now I'm back.
Okay.
And that's been really wonderful to come back and see my progress, see what I'm capable of now in my body because I'm not 20 anymore.
Right. Shoot.
Yeah.
Hey. Awesome, man. Awesome. I feel that. I feel that. Um, uh, we talked a little bit about culture,
Yeah.
throughout. And then, as you got older, you found more stuff. Like I feel more about like that side now. Did uh did that come by being on your own? tell me where you're at, as to just bring it back to like Philippine culture and
Yeah, of course.
ourselves.
It's
We talked
been
about the other explorations through high school
yeah,
and all
yeah,
that,
yeah.
but like where you're at now and finding more about yourself. You've got to find yourself as a person. Find out yourself in acting. You found
Yes.
VO as your
Yeah.
thing. Give me more of the Jesse and Inocalla on the Filipino side of things as we get ready to close out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I tell my Arnie students a lot, like, I didn't have a lot of the culture when I was coming up, just because, my mom's white, and I only had so much access to my tita, to my Lola, to the people who were here. And I always regretted that.
Yeah.
I wanted more, but there wasn't more out there. So, as I grew and, I've had these talks with my brother a lot. How do we stay in touch with our culture? How do we get there? And I've been very fortunate to have, Barcada's one example of that, but
Yeah.
I used to volunteer for a local Filipino community center here in Vancouver, teaching
Sweet.
Arnis. I have gotten to work with some incredible Filipino artists and Filipino indigenous arts groups here as well.
Nice.
And genuinely, I've done a lot of research and reading on my own. There's this
Same.
great book. It's on my shelf here. There it is. Brown Skin, White Minds.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
yes,
by Dr. E.R. David, E.J.R.
yes. Shout
which,
out.
like, straight up, as a mixed Filipino, changed my goddamn life.
Wow.
Because this man, I used to, read his shit on Twitter before I ever picked up his book. And I remember he was saying, his wife is Athabascan, his kids are mixed. And what he said that really, really, really hit me like a goddamn freight train, was like, I'm full Filipino. My wife is full Athabascan. That doesn't make our kids half. Because to say they're half is to deny their wholeness. They are Filipino. They are Athabascan. They are one whole being. They're not half of anything. And that hit me, man. And I am sure it hits you too, because that fucking
Bro, listen.
blew my mind up, where I was like, you know what? Yeah, you're right.
I felt, dude, I almost booked him my first year of doing ShoPowSho like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Because like you, I found him on Twitter or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And then until I picked up his book. And I was so ashamed that I would always say half.
Me too.
It made me ashamed that I said that. And I'm like, I got to get that out of my vernacular.
Yeah. So like, I do my best. I slip up once in a while, but at the end of the day, I'm like, no. I'm a Filipino-American or Filipino-Canadian, depending on which country I'm in. I'm both. It's fine.
Yeah. Like my wife's black and and I'm Filipino, and we have a mixed kid, but no, she's black. She can be both things. We need to get rid of that halfness.
Yeah.
And bro.
Yeah.
Same. I'm
forgetting the name of the writer, but yes, Anthony Ocampo.
Yes.
Latinos of Asia.
Yep.
This book as well, like so many
almost booked him too.
Oh, he's great.
I gotta like book them again. Finally.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Like those two books have been so important to my growth.
Agreed.
And my understanding of my Filipino culture and my heritage.
Yeah.
And it's really helped to reframe the concept that even though we as Filipinos have not a unique experience of colonization and of whitewashing within Asia, we got it really bad.
Yeah.
We got it really bad, right?
Bro.
So deconstructing that and understanding that further has been so vital to me and to my to where I'm at now.
Yeah. Completely. I feel you in every way. I'm still learning myself, man.
We all are. It's lifelong.
That's why I'm like curious. I didn't get like you. Well, my mom Filipino, my dad's white, but grew up in military bases. She strayed away because she didn't want me to get confused, because she said she was teaching me Tagalog, but then I'll get my voice, so she stopped. Like, I relate in every way. And shit, as I told you on the last episode, part 1, I recently found, and I haven't like really explored this and really put it out there. found out that my father, who's white, isn't really my father. I'm
Yeah.
actually full-blooded Filipino because of a DNA test that we found out
Wow.
last year. We'll explore more of that. People are still, I haven't really put that out there.
Yeah.
So that's also fucks me up because I still have this mindset that I'm a mixed mestizo kid, but I'm not.
Yeah.
My DNA is 76% Filipino.
Yeah. It's
It's
wild.
crazy.
It's wild,
Yeah.
And there's so much culture is such a weird thing. And it comes from all over. It bleeds into us. It's in our blood sometimes. I was thinking the other day about Snow, the rapper.
Hmm.
You know him?
Yeah,
From
yeah. I'm a
Toronto,
hip
right?
hop head.
Yeah. He's like the whitest motherfucker in the universe.
Yeah.
But he has like straight he has flow. He has
Yeah.
incredible like reggaeton flow.
Yeah.
And it's because he came up in the suburbs of Toronto, which are overwhelmingly Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just what he came up in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not to say like I can't speak for Snow at all, but I was
Yeah.
just like, yo, that's so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's fascinating that this is where this guy comes from.
Yeah.
And this is how he is known, and this is how he gained his fame.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. The world is amazing. People,
It's wild.
you hate
It's
the
wild.
racism and the labels that people put on people when we're just so rich of beauty and culture. But you just have everything else that just kind of gets crazy along with
Yeah.
all of that and
Yeah.
people's interpretations. But Jesse, man, I love learning more about you, bro. And just everything you're doing. Um, before we close out, I want to know what you want the people to know about Jesse and Inocalla, and any other projects that you can't talk about because I know there's one coming soon that you can't
There are a
talk
couple I
about.
can't talk about. Yeah.
But just any other promo before we get up out of here, and all y'all listening, if you're driving, when you stop, I'll have all of Jesse's links in the description below. Please go follow him, subscribe, do all the things. More Dragon Prince, I'm sure, on the way. All
More
the
Dragon
things.
Prince on
So
the
there's
way.
a lot of
Season
fans of
6
that
coming
of
this
yours
year.
from that. Just what do you want the world to know about Jesse and Inocalla and anything else new that people can look forward to that you can talk about without getting you
I
in
can
trouble?
talk about. Okay, so first off, I'm on everything at Inocalla, JINOCALLA. I'm on Twitch with that. Don't follow me on Twitch. Don't burn a sub. I don't use it. I'm just there. Also, I still have my Twitter account. I don't use it anymore, but it's there. So I don't fucking know. Blow me up there if you like. Primarily Instagram nowadays, so hit me up there. When I can talk about new projects I'm a part of, I never shut up about them, so that's a good way to track them. Most recently, the thing I can talk about most recently is I am one of the main antagonists on this new, I think OVA series or anyway, anime, Mightiest Disciple. I get to play. This is my first time in media getting to use my Filipino accent in a character, which is
Dope.
wild. It's
Awesome.
so wild. Like, I'm so happy they let me do it. Marissa Lenti's the director on that, and they were so fucking cool. We got to like slip in little Filipino isms into the script. It was so sick. It's so sick. I'm so excited for the world to see that. Um, yeah, there's more stuff coming at all times. Hit me up there. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's just it. I'm just out here surviving, doing what I can, and doing what I can to rep the culture and rep myself and make things cool, make cool shit.
Hell yeah. What's your dream job? Like, what would be like the ultimate thing for you to do, or just
You
any or
know,
character maybe
I
any
used to
property you really
say
enjoy you'd love to be involved on?
I used to say that I had kind of a VO bucket list, and I've knocked two things off the bucket list already, which was
Okay.
I wanted to be a named Marvel character, and I'm two of them now. I wanted to be a named DC character, and I'm the brain on my adventures with Superman now, so that's done. I haven't gotten into Star Wars yet. That might still happen. We'll see what
Okay.
happens with that. I mean, they're still making it, so I'm probably gonna make my way there eventually, but I still want to do that. I want to do more like if I could be on a Final Fantasy, man, I think that would blow my mind. If I could be on a Final Fantasy, Or I also said like I wanted to be on a Yakuza game. I'm in a Yakuza game now. So like
Yeah.
maybe more of that. I don't fucking know. I am always happy for whatever comes my way. And it's the weird little sleeper shows that really sit with me. You know, the cool like auteur driven shows. Like something for Megan Nicole Dong or something for Raphael Bob Waksberg or the people who have a real cool vision for their shows, like Aaron and Justin do for Dragon Prince. That stuff really tickles me. So
Awesome.
anything like that. But I mean, if I was going to be in Star Wars, I wouldn't say no.
Well, we're putting that energy into the air with this. That's what I want to do, is put the energy, the good vibes into the air, to the universe, make it happen. You know what? I want to one more thing.
Please.
That's VO stuff. But like I said, I enjoyed seeing you in Totally Killer. We're both wanting to be using our whole bodies out there
Yeah,
outside of
yeah.
VOs. What kind of a role would you like to play? And actually, I kind of imagined what I would personally, because knowing your history, it'd be
Yeah.
amazing to see you do full circle and step into a turtle costume a la the
Oh
old school
God.
80s stuff. I know they
Oh
want to do
God.
CGI stuff now, but if you could get into a suit, take over from your father,
Oh,
would you
I'd
want
do
to
it,
do
man.
that?
I'd do it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'd lose like 20 pounds just sweating off the weight. I'd be into that.
Right? Yeah, you'd be sweating in that bitch, but
Yeah. I mean, oh, that's another one actually. I would love to be a turtle. I want to be one of the turtles at some
right,
point. That'd
that
be
would
so
be
sick.
awesome. Just full circle moment right there.
Yeah,
But
totally.
yeah, that
But
just
on camera, like
yeah.
truly anything, truly
Okay.
anything. Um, I would love to be in a position where I get to like do my own stunts on a thing.
Love it.
Because that's still in my blood. I'm still active. I still
That's what I was thinking with the turtles thing. Like, to
yeah,
do that would be dope.
that'd be wild. That'd be so wild.
Just full circle you and your pops,
Yeah.
bro.
I'm
Love
pushing
it.
for it. I keep pushing.
All right,
Keep
man.
the
Last
United just think of
question.
me. Please.
I love it, brother. And again, thank you so much for your time, man. Really appreciate doing a part 2 conversation with you, bro. And you got to come back now, like
I'm
Earl and
always here.
JB.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now it's just like when you got the next project drop and you can promote it, you're coming back here so we can talk and give
You got
your
it.
flowers.
It'll happen.
So, what I always end up with for the last question is, it's NRW, Nerds Rule the World. What is something nerdy? And you can't use what we've already discussed. Let me also
Okay.
preface that.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You can't use something that I already know that you do that is nerdy and you enjoy. But what is something that we don't know that you could give a nerd TED style talk on,
Ooh.
if you were given that opportunity to do a TED talk on something you are really into? And it could be anything. It doesn't have to be the traditional
Yeah, yeah,
nerd
yeah.
stuff. I had tax law with Lee Shorten. He
Yeah,
said
he totally could do that.
yeah, because he was
Oh,
a
yeah.
lawyer at
He
one
was a
time.
lawyer. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. This is very tangential to what we were talking about. I
Okay.
could give a TED style nerd lecture on classic, no, medieval and Renaissance literature,
Ooh, I
because
like.
that was a big area of my study. And I think it's so fascinating because so much of what we understand as like formative texts in, say, like The Art of War is a great example of this, Sun Tzu's Art of War. Uh, a lot of modern interpretations of Sun Tzu's Art of War take into account its audience, which was all like rich ass like land barons and shit who had no idea how to run an army. So when Sun Tzu was writing, he said like, "Oh, you need to feed your army. You need to bring food for your army so your army can eat. You can't just have them go pillage or hunt. That doesn't work. You need to bring food. It might be safer for you to station your army outside of a castle because your army is not going to get inside the castle. Wait for people to come." It's real like basic ass stuff.
Yeah.
And Sun Tzu made a killing off of it because the rich people just didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
There's another example of this. The Prince, Machiavelli's The Prince,
Uh-huh.
which is again like these are like formative texts for a lot of people who have no idea what the context of them are. Machiavelli was a brilliant writer, but he was a satirist. He wrote satire. All of his plays are very funny, are making fun of the upper crust of Renaissance Italy. So The Prince, it is theorized, there's some proof of this, was written as basically a diss track against the Medici family. They were like, this is what you should do if you want to be a successful prince, and talk about how shitty all that shit you do is, but within the confines of the book. So like when people read The Prince and read it as like, oh, I should be doing this, they're taking bad advice.
I love it.
It's so crazy. It's crazy to think about.
I love it, man. Awesome. I love finding these little nuggets and learning these little nuggets about my friends, my peeps. Jesse, man, that is awesome, bro. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate you, brother. Again, thank you for taking me on this journey, and hopefully this energy inspired you to make you reflect on everything you've accomplished. You're dope. You're awesome. We got to support each other. Can't wait to see what you're going to do next, man. And you got to come back through so we can give you your flowers, bro.
Hey, man,
truly a pleasure,
back.
bro.
You know where to find me.
All right, y'all. Jesse Inocalla in the building. ShoPowSho. All of his links in the description below. Shoot him a follow. Let's talk all things in the comments, and then hit my man Jesse up. So much fun, man. Appreciate you, brother. Salamat po.
Salamat.
All right, everybody. Jesse Inocalla, your boy Kuya P. ShoPowSho. Mahakita. Salamat.
Peace.
There you go. All right, bye. All
right.
I'm gonna count us in, and we'll get. Actually, you know what? Let me pin myself because I got to bring you in again. That's right.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Let me bring you in, give you your proper introduction, and then we'll go to town. Here we go. In a 1, 2, 3.